Good evening. The Labour government was warned that moving 600 illegal immigrants into a military barracks in the British countryside could cause riots. But they did it anyway. They bust some illegals in under the cover of darkness just over a week ago. And now it can be revealed that Steve Reed, the Community Secretary, was warned. Quote, the proposal may give rise to anxiety amongst local residents, which may be adversely affected by protesters/demonstrators or riots. The impact assessment said that in an attempt to ease concerns, the Home Office would set up a forum as, quote, a chance to address anxieties and produce meaningful mitigations should they be identified as necessary. Right, should we just see how one of these community forums went?
Next to him, and then Jack, can we come to the two ladies at the back? Sir first.
Yeah, how do you plan to meet the sexual needs of 600 men?
Andrew, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I said I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, great stuff. Those 600 men in the area. What could go wrong? And the Green Party co-deputy leader got absolutely roasted as well.
My second question is actually directly to you, Rachel. It does actually go to you as well, James. You did a video the other day, Rachel, saying that all of these people, you know, doctors and engineers and surgeons that are coming here, and we should give them the right to work. Now, firstly, engineers, doctors and surgeons do not come from France on a dinghy and throw their medical certificate overboard.
Right, so let me get this straight. The government receives explicit warnings that dumping 600 migrants into a military barracks might, just possibly, cause a bit of local upset. Their response? Crack on anyway. What could possibly go wrong? Spoiler alert, everything. Welcome back to British News Unfiltered, where we dissect the political chaos so you don't have to lose your mind doing it yourself. I'm here to tell you about Labour's latest masterstroke in disaster management, and trust me, this one's an absolute belter. If you're not already subscribed, hit that button now and smash the notifications bell, because stories like this don't tell themselves, and the mainstream media certainly won't give you the unfiltered version.
It's very clear to me that you really don't understand the small boat crisis, so therefore, I'm going to say, why don't you resign, both of you, and make way for someone who understands the crisis?
But this is the worst bit for me. I think they tried to gaslight the public by saying this. They said there is no previous evidence to indicate that asylum seeker accommodation results in a perceived or actual increase in crime or fear of crime, including with regards to the impacts of the health of people living nearby. This is what they said about the people of Crowborough. Right, this army barracks where they've just bust a load of illegals. It is not true. According to The Sun, in the first 6 months of 2025, 1 in every 100 illegal immigrants in hotels have been accused of committing a crime. The Sun investigation reported that the alleged crimes included rape, robbery and GBH. Police told residents in Altrincham, kind of Greater Manchester area, the same thing.
Today, I can assure you we've had asylum seekers in Trafford for several years, and there has been no spike in crime, there has been no increase in crime that's attributed to these asylum seekers.
Rubbish. A convicted paedophile on the run from German authorities was arrested last October at the Britannia Ashley Hotel in Hale, just down the road from where that police officer was talking. That bloke was deported last week. On Thursday, we are going to the sentencing of an asylum seeker who sexually assaulted a teenage girl in Hertfordshire. According to the Migration Observatory, Afghans are 14.5 times more likely to commit a sex crime than Brits. We've just had the sentencing of a Sudanese lunatic who stabbed an innocent young woman to death with a screwdriver in Walsall. He was filmed drinking alcohol and dancing as police and ambulance sirens blared in the background. What an absolute monster. And what this Labour government isn't factoring in is the changes people will make to their way of life. just not letting kids walk to school on their own, not letting their daughters go out at night. They don't care, do they? They don't care about us. They don't care about our safety. They don't care about how we feel. They don't care about our way of life. They just care about illegal immigrants. There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN. Thoughts, my panel. We've got the Tory MP for Tatton Esther McVeigh. We've got Will Kingston, the GB News sensation and political commentator as well, Jonathan Liss. Esther, I'll start with you. You know, having worked in government, this report that came through to Steve Reid and the Labour government, basically saying that there could be riots here and that they've ploughed on anyway. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's a disgrace. If you know something's going to happen, you have to say, why are you doing it? Is this the best place to put somebody? Is this the best that you can do? And I'd say no. And I have to say something else that they're doing in Crowborough, I think tells you everything you need to know about this Labour government. They're providing lessons to the illegal migrants on how to protect themselves from local residents, and yet there is no thought of local residents on how they might need to protect themselves from illegal migrants. I think that says it all. It's just one-way traffic. They're not thinking about the safety of the local sort of area, the local people there. They just want to jam through, wedge through what they want to do, and that is force illegal immigrants into this area. And then something else, the accommodation they're staying at. There's 3-to-1 support per immigrant, and they've got an outside gym, they've got a gym, outside sporting facilities, laundry facilities. I mean, Blummerneck, what, are they going to get a butler and a maid as well? I think people look at this and they think, what am I paying my taxes for when they're coming and having this life of luxury?
And Will, the other aspect is, apart from the fact that they were literally warned that there could be riots, which, by the way, there haven't been yet, and we hope there isn't, OK, but they were warned that there could be, and they still pressed ahead with it, was the total gaslighting of locals to say that there's been no reported increase in crime or the perception of crime around migrant hotels.
The thing you've got to understand, Patrick, is that gaslighting and sneering moral condescension are the only two cards that this government has to play. They're not going to stop the boats now because they're not going to change any of the laws that make it impossible to stop the boats, like the ECHR, like the Human Rights Act. They're not going to mitigate the safety concerns in a real way by detaining these people, because I can tell you the way that you stop rapes or sexual assaults or murders is actually stopping the boats, but if not, detaining them in a hotel or preferably, you know, in a camp somewhere. But they're not going to do that either. So the only card they have to play, and this is the rape gangs card all over again, is this sort of gaslighting, say, well, it's not really a problem, you guys are just bigoted or you're misunderstood. Or, and failing that, they're going to say, well, you know, maybe it is a problem, but you need to put up with that because it is for the greater good of multiculturalism or these poor illegal migrants or whatever. These are the only things they can play now because they're not actually solving the problem.
I mean, it is a lie, Jonathan, isn't it, to say that there's no reported increase in crime or the perception of crime as a result of migrant or asylum seeker accommodation. I mean, that's just not true, is it?
Patrick, I mean, the perception of crime, I mean, people will perceive all kinds of things. We're more interested in facts, and
Yeah,
you know, that
according to the facts, it's also not true, is it?
No one's ever said that asylum seekers will never commit crimes. Obviously, it's terrible when they do, but they are human beings, and some human beings will be bad people and they will commit crimes, and we don't want those people to be in this country. And obviously, we need an asylum vetting process. That's part of the asylum processing. The fundamental point is you can take a broad view of this, a long-term perspective, or you can look at it in the short term. Whatever you think about asylum system, the asylum seekers, in this country, we have asylum seekers. They are here. They do have... Something has to happen with them. They have to have their claims processed. The government's trying to ramp up the processing, and they need to be housed somewhere while that happens.
So look,
we complain about... People complain about the hotels,
There is no previous evidence to indicate that asylum seeker accommodation results in a perceived or actual increase of crime or fear of crime, including with impacts on the health of people living nearby. That is a lie, isn't it?
I would certainly say that clearly there are some people who perceive, who are afraid of crime and perceive an increase of crime. In some cases, there might, as I say, there may be some crimes being committed. But the fundamental point, if I can just say this, the fundamental point here, Patrick, is that asylum seekers need to be housed somewhere. And people were rightly concerned about hotels. No one likes hotels. They are the wrong policy option. So these people do need to be housed somewhere. Right. And so the government has to find other options.
But Jonathan, the reason people hated hotels is not because they're hotels. It's because it's free accommodation with access to the community. If you put them in a camp like this, that is still the same problem. Why aren't you now saying, even if your assertion is correct, that they need to be processed, we need to let them in, whatever, why don't you detain them so you remove the risk to the community, and therefore, by definition, there won't be people being raped?
When they were coming out of hotels, they were looking for either smashing the gangs to work, one in, one out to work, and people being detained, deported, unless fewer people coming in. They weren't then saying, oh, let's find a housing plot for them everywhere within community.
Can I ask us, so now we know that this report exists, which is that Steve Reid, the Community Secretary, was made aware of a report that said, A, there could be riots, B, that there's no increase of crime, there's no evidence, despite the fact it's demonstrably untrue. If, and we hope it doesn't happen, but if something happens in Crowborough involving one of these illegal migrants and someone in the local area, as has happened elsewhere, does Steve Reid have to personally carry the can for this, do you think?
Well, I think what he should have done straight away is look at some of the things that they've put in the report and say, well, hang on a sec. We do know, as you read out the figures before, Afghanistanis, actually there is a higher percentage of sexual crimes done there, Sudaneses, and look at the facts we've got, and actually there is an increase mainly in sexual crimes. So, first of all, he should have been questioning what he was putting his name to and signing it off. And then afterwards, there is an element of, there is a personal responsibility there. So you'll say, well, what are the mitigating circumstances? What else can you do? What are we doing? But this government is in total denial. They are double talk, they are double speak, and because they failed, as Will said before, on the other things that they are trying to do, they're making it up as they go along. They failed in their fundamental plans to stop illegal immigrants coming into the country. So now it's sort of all made-up policy.
Well, Esther, with the greatest respect, it's a bit rich for a Conservative MP to complain about a government not stopping the boats. That was literally the slogan of the last Conservative government. And it was always a ridiculous thing to promise.
It's gone through the roof since Labour came into power. We had the Rwanda plan, which Labour, the biggest mistake Labour did was get rid of that straight away, because you don't now have a deterrent, you don't have somewhere to send people, and what they should have done would be looking for more third countries to send to and have an agreement between France and the UK, so we both work together to send them to
It would only have accommodated a few hundred people at most, by the way, the
The big point for me is this, right? We now have evidence, Will, of the kind of advice that government ministers are being given and accepting, and that the core tenet of that advice is a lie. It is that there's no increase in crime or the perception of crime at all. And that, for me, is the thing. This is outrageous. The idea that the people of Crowborough are having their town decimated by this, based on a lie.
But this is the attitude that permeates the actions of this government across the board, and that is that you can't be trusted with the truth. We saw it with the rape gangs. We've seen it across so many different areas where they go, we are the elite class, we understand what is best for you, shut up and just cop it. Yeah. This is the attitude of the left today, and it is represented most firmly by this government.
Correct the record. They should be made to come and correct the record.
So he is floundering, and this is what he wants to believe. And sometimes what they want, they sort of magically believe is true when it's not. And because they are floundering... This is called
Rory Stewart syndrome.
Listen, when he got asked, and how many houses have been built, remember, he hadn't a clue about that, was making up numbers about that. They're never going to build 1.5 million houses in this term of office, but they're just making it up as they go along.
Oh, there we go. All right, look, a Home Office spokesperson has said, we are making sweeping reforms to restore order to our immigration system, making it less attractive for illegal migrants to come to Britain and easier to remove them off British soil. This government has already removed or deported 50,000 people, a 24% increase, including 5,430 foreign criminals.
So what's the takeaway from this absolute omnishambles? The Labour government was warned. They ignored those warnings. They pushed ahead with a plan that's angering communities, straining resources, and undermining public trust. They've responded to legitimate concerns with denial and gaslighting, scrapped one approach without having a credible alternative, and demonstrated once again that when it comes to immigration policy, ideology trumps practicality every single time. 600 migrants in a military barracks, warnings ignored, communities sidelined, honesty abandoned. This is British politics in 2026, and if you're not paying attention, you really should be. Thanks so much for watching British News Unfiltered. I'll see you in the next one.